Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Hi. A double sword hero, brother Golden Lion Kazan, a stinky little devil who could starve to death at any time, has a junior brother named Shiji. After activating the divine level experience system, increasing experience can infinitely upgrade swordsmanship power. Reading epic, experience value 99999, swordsmanship increased by LV 100. Traveling around the world, experience value 99999, reward with a domineering color entanglement. The moment when the two brothers set sail. The story of a double sword hero is destined to shake the sea. Capp. Skee has already given people a headache, his brother is even more terrifying. Warring states period. Moving your fingers is a level of destructive power. How should I fight this battle? Rocks. You two brothers are qualified to be on an equal footing with me. White beard. What an enviable brotherhoodRoger. Kazan. What a great ambition. Kaido. Newcomers kneel down to seek the care of the big shot. I am 5 old stars. Navy. In front of my flying pirates, it's not worth mentioning at all. JiehahahaFeilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 001, Brother of the Golden Lion, Double Drifting Fruit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 001, me, the brother of the Golden Lion, the double floating fruit at the beginning pirate world, 1454 in the Gregorian calendar. Maria ruled the world for nearly 800 years. The proliferation of aristocratic regimes led to great chaos in the world. Poverty and war are prevalent all over the world. People who have never experienced it can never imagine how terrifying darkness is enveloping this world. West Sea, Newcastle. This island has no country, it's just a patchwork of small towns. Because I cannot afford to pay the sky gold, I am unable to become a member country. Chaotic order. Make this island a paradise for pirates to burn, kill, and plunder, leaving countless children displaced and constantly facing death. Brother, you can't die, you're dead. What should I do? The town of Newcastle, on the outskirts, amidst dense forests. The ragged boy was anxiously shouting for the figure lying on the ground next to him, unaware of life or death. The figure on the ground let out a soft moan and slowly sat up, his eyes particularly confused. Brother, it's great if you're okay. The boy next to him saw Kazan wake up and was overjoyed. Kazan looked at Shiji who was rushing towards him, and new scenes couldn't help but come to mind. My mind began to feel a bit dazed. A few seconds later, he regained his clear gaze and a hint of bitterness appeared at the corner of his mouth. My Mazda finally rolled up the license plate. How could I become a stinky little ghost in a migrant workers manga in the blink of an eye? What I didn't expect was that I was still in a chaotic era and became Shiji's biological brother. This is really unexpected. And from my predecessor's memory, I learned that the current timeline is still in the year 1454 according to the Hyuan calendar, which is a long way from the storyline. My name after traveling is Kazan, 8 years old, and the boy next to me is my twin brother, Shiki. In previous works, the name Kazan was not mentioned. But Shiji was renowned and distinguished. Because he is one of the 3 legendary pirates of the Old World, along with the Pirate King Roger and the strongest man Newgate. Pirate Commander. Golden Lion. Shiji. The accompanying troubles stunned Kazan. The original owner should have starved to death and gone offline at this time. Even if Shiji survived, even if he later became strong, he only became a background for legend. When Kazan was in a daze, Skee beside him saw Kazan wake up and his spirit shake. The two brothers were both in a state of extreme hunger and were chased by pirates, losing all their energy. Shiji quickly searched through the stolen package, hoping to find something to eat. Just as Shiji dug out a pile of debris, A strange light blue fruit rolled out with a thud. The unexpected scene immediately caught Kazan's attention. Shiji. Is this? Kazan took the strange fruit and carefully examined it. From his experience as a traveler, this fruit with strange patterns is definitely a treasure of the sea. Devil fruit. Perhaps this fruit is the beginning of the two brothers changing their destinies. Ding. Detected that the host has come into contact with the world's chi treasure, the floating fruit of the Superman series, and is bound to the divine level experience system. What? Upon hearing the mechanical prompt sound in his mind, Kazan's face suddenly changed. Immediately, the system's prompt sound rang again. Hosts can continuously obtain experience values through reading, researching, traveling, and other behaviors. The experience values increase on the entries of their various dimensional attributes. Do you want to open the beginner gift pack? At this point, Kazan understood that his golden finger, as a traveler, had been credited. A look of surprise couldn't help but appear in my eyes. Without even thinking, he silently recited in his heart, "System, open the beginner gift pack." For Kazan, the beginner gift pack is his life-saving straw. If I remember correctly, the two brothers chose to take risks at the end of their lives. While the pirates were killing and plundering, they took advantage of the chaos and took a package from the caravan. Such behavior was equivalent to stealing food at the mouth of a tiger, and they were naturally pursued by the pirates. Before the pirates pursue them, the two brothers must have the power to protect themselves. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 500,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Swordsmanship. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Luck. Do you want to incorporate experience values into the entry in exchange for experience upgrades? Accompanied by a system beep. Kazan found a simple panel floating in his mind. Host. Kazan Swordsmanship. LV 0.0/500, plus, Fortune. 100, this entry is initially full, cleared to 0 after use, and triggered by special conditions to increase the fortune value, experience value. 500,000 points, without hesitation, Kazan's gaze locked on the plus sign behind the swordsmanship level. Swordsmanship is currently the only entry he can add points to. With a fixed gaze. With an experience value of 500,000 points, Kazan chose to blindly increase it all to swordsmanship. Ding! The host consumes 500,000 experience points, and swordsmanship has increased from LV0 to LV35. The swordsmanship realization that appeared out of thin air in his body finally reassured Kazan. Next to him, Shiji didn't pay attention to Kazan's confusion. Just swallowing saliva with wide eyes, his eyes flickering as he looked at the blue strange fruit in Kazan's hand. Brother, this fruit should be very delicious, right? What beautiful and clean fruits. Shiji sighed. The two brothers haven't eaten fresh fruits for a long time, let alone the high appearance of Piaopiao fruit, and Shiji's stomach is making a sound. Kazan breathed a sigh of relief and explained, this is the devil's fruit, a secret treasure of the sea. As long as you eat it, you can gain powerful demon power, at the cost of becoming a dry duck. Piaopiao fruit belongs to the Superman system, where capable individuals can escape gravity and fly in the air. They can also control non-living objects they have touched and use their abilities to make them float, even allowing dozens of islands to float in high altitude year-round. Of course, later generations have proven that with proper development, drifting fruit not only allows objects to float, but also fabricates and mobilizes floating objects. Even in blizzards, it can transform and attack enemies. Skee's throat involuntarily surged, saliva secreted, and he didn't think of himself first. Instead, he suggested, brother, then you eat it quickly. If you eat it, you can live on. Half for one person. The starving Kazan immediately made a decision. If you get the system's praise, you naturally won't compete with your own brothers for the floating fruit. He knows that only those who take the first bite can gain ability. Say it. He directly broke the floating fruit in half and divided it into half in the hands of Shiji. Quick. Swallow it. Kazan watched as Shiki wolfed down the fruit. He felt relieved and stuffed the other half of the fruit into his mouth. It's so unpleasant. It smells like dead mice. Ugh. Kazan was already prepared, but upon hearing Shiji's words, he immediately nauseous. But then, Shiki and Kazan both experienced a vigorous force within their bodies. The two of them miraculously floated up one after another. Shiji looked incredulous and said, "Brother, I'm floating." The Kazan center was also surprised. "I'm floating too." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 002, The Wonderful Use of Luck, Sex. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 002, The Wonderful Use of Luck, Sex, Ding. Detect the host's contact with chi events, consume all chi points to generate critical strikes, and you share the power of floating. At the same time, the planktonic imprints of the host and Shiji are also in a shared state. Fortune value. So it's like this. At this moment, Kazan noticed that the fortune value on his panel had been reset to 0. In other words, when the luck value reaches 100, if Kazan is exposed to a major event of luck, he may consume all of his luck value and gain benefits beyond surprises. After all, according to common sense, demon abilities can be similar, but each one is unique. Now, surprisingly, I have also gained the power of floating. What's even more abnormal is sharing the planktonic imprint with Shiji. One of the brothers can make a mark, and the other can also manipulate things to float up. Sure enough, if the system produces, it must be a masterpiece. Kazan couldn't help but admire the magic of the system in his heart. Having the devil fruit for the first time. Both Kazan brothers are a bit uncomfortable. They float uncontrollably in the air, reaching a height of 6 or 7 meters above the ground, and even showing a tendency to float higher. Shiji felt nervous in his heart as he couldn't grasp the bundle in his hand. The gold and silver treasures inside, along with some dry food, fell from mid-air to the ground. Make a jingling sound. Perhaps the two brothers have been used to wandering since childhood, just like Xiaoqiang, they have strong adaptability. After a few minutes, the two landed safely. Looking at each other in pairs, there was a hint of surprise in their eyes. Two stinky little brats. You're looking for death. Hand over the treasure. As Kazansky was adjusting to the floating fruit, a sound suddenly came from afar. The two couldn't help but look at the sound. I saw the bushes being cut open with a knife, and a bald pirate stepped out first. Then a dozen burly men followed suit. Kazan recognized them at a glance, and they were the group of pirates chasing the two brothers. The bald man, who was leading the way, hooked his fingers fiercely and said coldly, "Send me the treasure. Kneel down and admit your mistake. I can consider leaving a whole body for you two stinky little ghosts." Shiji's face changed slightly and he turned to look at Kazan. "Brother, what should we do now?" Seeing Shiji raise his gaze. Kazan knew that Skee wanted to use the floating fruit to float up. Escape. However, Kazan knows that the law of the jungle is the law of the jungle. Since swordsmanship has been improved, counterattack is the only option. No matter how bad it is, there are still floating fruits to keep the bottom. You came just right. Kazan's entire aura suddenly changed, like a fierce tiger in the mountains and forests, or like a wild wolf in the wilderness. Take 3 steps and take 2 steps, then suddenly launch an attack and directly target a pirate. Brother. Seeing this, Shiji couldn't help but scream out in surprise, his heart rising to his throat. It should be noted that although the two brothers are siblings, there is still a significant difference in physical fitness. Shiji inherits his father's rugged appearance and strong physique, while Kazan inherits his mother's beautiful appearance and wisdom. My older brother is smarter, while my younger brother is stronger. But now, surprisingly, it was the frail brother who took the lead without hesitation. In front of everyone. Kazan's figure flashed, his light body leaped close, and a punch hit the pirate's chin. As the pirate rose up from the ground, Kazan casually pulled out the pirate's knife that spanned his waist. Brush. The pirate's chest was immediately cut open by the sword, and blood spurted out, falling straight backwards. Bang. What? Seeing this scene, everyone present showed a shocked expression. A stinky little devil who looks like he's 7 or 8 years old. How could you be so ruthless when you started? The pirates couldn't help but laugh and froze in place. What are you doing in a daze? Let me chop them off. At most, it's just 2 stinky little ghosts. With a fierce gaze, the pirate leader burst out and shouted. The pirate next to him immediately drew his sword, intending to come forward and kill Kazan. Brush and brush. In the same light, several pirates flew out with blood flowing down their necks. The pirate leader realized that he had gnawed on a hard bone this time, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. What a fast knife. This kid has a problem. It's not worth it for a little money. Let's withdraw. The leaders all ran away, and other pirates left the scene in a disheveled state. Brother. You. Shiji pointed to several corpses on the ground, opened his mouth wide, and his face was full of disbelief. Is this still the brother who only relies on his cleverness to steal and raise himself? Kazan put away his knife and walked over. Don't worry, Shiji. If I don't take action, it's us who will die, he said with a smile as he patted Shiji, who was a bit scared. Starting from today, our brothers will take our own path. Strength is the best weapon against injustice, we brothers must become stronger. Okay. Although Shiji was a bit uncomfortable with what happened today, he looked at Kazan's eyes and without thinking, he believed in his brother. We need to quickly adapt to the ability of floating fruits. Kazan took a few steps forward and collected the gold and silver in his hand. Hee. With a slight flick of his wrist, the gold and silver floated up. Do you feel the mark above? Shiji nodded. Shiji, we have consumed the same demon fruit and possess the same ability. From now on, with just one thought, we can float objects and even manipulate them to do anything. Give it a try first. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 003, brother, it turns out that Piaopiao Fruit is used in this way. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 003, brother, it turns out that Piaopiao Fruit is used in this way. Once we adapt to this ability, we can go and exterminate that group of pirates just now. The previous 2 were in a deficit. Therefore, those pirates were allowed to escape. Brother, are we really going to rob the pirates? Said Shiki, obviously worried about Kazan's plan. However, a hint of excitement flashed in Shiji's eyes and he said, okay. Anyway, we have to do them. Kazan picked up the samurai sword that had been thrown away by the pirate from the ground. I chose 2 pairs with good quality and threw them to Shiji. In the past, we lacked the ability to resist, so we could only survive like mice. Now, the situation is different. We have the strength now. Didn't you always want to learn how to use swordsmanship? After robbing the pirates, we can use their money to find a dojo for you to learn swordsmanship. These funds are far from enough. Counted the stolen gold and silver. Kazan estimates that it is only worth tens of thousands of berry. This amount of money is not enough for the brothers to survive for a long time. The reason why Kazan wanted Shiji to go to the dojo to learn swordsmanship was not because he taught it himself, but because his swordsmanship was provided by the system and may not be suitable for Shiji. In the future, the wandering swordsman who is amazed by the wind and clouds must step out of his unique swordsmanship. A double sword master, I really have some expectations when I think about it over here. Shiji tried and indeed easily suspended the knife. Perhaps his ability to float also gave him confidence. He gritted his teeth and said firmly, "Brother. I feel no problem now. Tonight's action, let's eat until we're full." Quickly, the two brothers picked up the dry food on the ground, regardless of whether it was stained with soil, and ate it happily. The two haven't had such clean food for a long time. Money for survival. A stable environment. These two are currently the most basic needs of the two brothers. Half a day later, the two of them initially adapted to the ability of floating fruits. After becoming a floating person, Kazan mastered a rule. You can command a few tons of broken wood floating in the air without spending any effort. However, he cannot uproot a living tree with tangled roots. Slowly, Kazan understood. The floating ability person wants to suspend a tree or even an island. The first thing to do is to have the tremendous power to uproot them. You must have the ability to make the target rootless in order to freely manipulate it. Floating rootless objects is the initial ability of floating fruits. An idea suddenly formed in Kazan's mind. Soon, night fell. Two small figures emerged from the shadows of the trees, and they were finally about to take action. Even without expending any effort, the two flew from the forest in the center of the island to the location of the pirate ship at the port. Flying has always been one of the rarest abilities. Coming to the place, what Kazan didn't expect was. The pirate ship was not far away, and surprisingly, a naval branch's warship was docked. It's hard to imagine that two opposing warships are only separated by a few civilian ships. This scene is both real and satirical. During the falling process, Kazan's eyes became sharp as he reached out to feel the direction of the sea breeze. Shiji, go find the anchor under the pirate ship and cut the rope directly. Shiji-chan flew down and began to circle the pirate ship in search of the place to anchor. Kazan landed silently on the deck. Dada. The night is already deep. A few pirates were drunk and lying on the deck, their mouths chattering in their dreams without any warning. The flickering flames shone on the plywood, while the other pirates were inside the cabin, occasionally accompanied by wild laughter and the sound of bottles being thrown. After leaving a floating mark on the deck, Kazan immediately raised the sail. After adjusting the direction, Kazan uses his floating ability to slowly raise the entire pirate ship. The hull is rootless and has no requirements for physical strength. However, to move such a huge object, one still needs to rely on the power of the wind. Squeak. With a slight creaking sound, the entire pirate ship slowly emerged from the sea. In the blink of an eye, it had already risen to a height of 100 meters. And, with the sails raised, the whole ship quickly left the water and floated towards the land. If someone looks up, they will see the pirate ship at this moment, like a ghost walking at night. At this point, a pirate wrapped in a headscarf, holding a wine bottle, stumbled out of the cabin. Shoo, 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 shoo. The pirate closed his eyes slightly, whistled, and arrived at the deck railing, taking off his pants towards the outside of the ship. Perhaps men have a subconscious sense of pointing and hitting. This pirate also used the moonlight to stare at the place he was about to attack. Relax. The most proud moment in life is to pee in the sea. Shoo, shoo, shoo. But when he realized that the area below was no longer the sea surface, but was filled with black and gray tree shadows, the pirate's mind instantly became clear. Sleeping trough. What the hell is this? How is our ship on land? This Realizing that the situation was not right, the pirate turned to the cabin and shouted, "You all come out and see what's going on." "What the hell is going on?" "I'll see a ghost at night." The ship flew so fast. And soon he was blocked from view by a ghostly figure. Kazan floated down with his head down and his feet up. As the scarf pirate made a goodbye gesture, "You, go down." Boom. Kazan's small gesture instantly made the entire ship lose its buoyancy, shaking and falling rapidly downwards. Ah! With the sudden descent of the ship's hull, the already frightened pirate was immediately drenched in the foul-smelling urine. In just a few seconds, a muffled sound came from the ground, and a huge burst of smoke and dust erupted in the darkness. Bang! The ship of the pirate group completely shattered into pieces. Shiji flew over and was shocked to see Kazan's operation, feeling a bit speechless. Ah, this. How simple is killing. Did all the members of the pirate squad disappear in an instant? So this is how Piaopiao Fruit is used. The night light is too dim, and the accident site is in a sparsely populated dense forest. So the two brothers casually found a tree branch and went to sleep. The next day, a ray of fish belly white has just emerged on the sea level. The two brothers got up and started working together. Hee hee. Accompanied by the sound effect of floating fruits, wooden boards, keels, and fragments of the ship's hull all floated to one side. "Brother! Come on! There's such a big piece of gold here. Brother! Here! Here! Brother! We're getting rich now. There are so many treasures." Shiji's eyes widened as he had never seen so much money before. The two brothers spent half an hour finally counting the spoils of war. This ticket. The two have obtained at least 4 million Bailey's treasures. If not extravagant and wasteful, it would be enough time for the two to survive for several years. Kazan found an intact suitcase and put the treasure inside. With the help of floating fruits, lifting heavy objects is like holding a sheep in hand. After a few days of adjustment, the two brothers boarded a merchant ship and headed towards the next goal. During this period, Kazan inquired about the town of Tolstoy, which has a swordsmanship dojo. It is relatively stable there, and the swordsmanship teacher is also the best in the nearby waters, most suitable for the inexperienced Skee. He plans to spend a few years there to lay the foundation for his swordsmanship. Newcastle is the hometown of the two. In fact, when we calculate, there are actually naval bases in the small town. But because they couldn't afford the heavenly gold, as long as they stopped committing crimes under their noses, the Navy tacitly allowed pirates to burn, kill, and loot on the island. The sight of warships and pirate ships parked together yesterday is proof. The Navy and pirates colluded, making Newcastle the most dangerous island in the nearby area. Kazan has already planned it. When the two brothers grow up, even if they turn back, it will make the Newcastle Navy 123 branch pay the price. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 004, so, enjoy the exciting program well. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 004, the strong should have no worries. A few years have passed in the blink of an eye. In a self-built wooden house on the back mountain of Thor's town. The house is filled with rough tables and chairs, with many neatly sized books piled up one after another. The current Kazan has just turned 13 years old, with golden hair cascading behind him, shining particularly proudly. In terms of appearance alone, Kazan is definitely considered a type of beautiful youth, with exquisite facial features that exude nobility everywhere. On the other hand, on the younger brother Shiji's side, he became more and more domineering as he grew older, day after day moving towards a direction of bone wonder. Although they are siblings, the sense of genetic tearing is too strong. If it weren't for everyone having explosive flowing blonde hair, Kazan would suspect if the two were siblings. Closing the book, a systematic sound echoed in his mind. Ding! Post reading The Fairy Tales of Rolando the Great Tail King, with an experience value of plus 8,000, would you like to add an entry? Temporarily do not add entries, open the panel. Host. Kazan Swordsmanship. LV 50.410/60,000 Fortune. 23 Experience Value. 430,000 points. I didn't expect to be able to read comic books from Beihai even in Shihai. It seems that in the future, one should go to the book market to search for more books. New reading materials are very attractive to a scholar. However, even after 5 years have passed, there are still no new entries on the panel. It seems that reading can boost experience value, but the probability of adding entries is very low. Because the new entries did not increase, in order to prevent the sudden appearance of subsequent entries, Kazan accumulated a portion of his experience value. But when it comes to calculation, he already possesses the 3-masted sailboat chapter and the swordsmanship of Sauron's victory over the zombie dragon horse. While Kazan was pondering, a figure flew into the room and sat cross-legged next to Kazan. Perhaps influenced by the swordsmanship teacher of Hiziguo, Shiji's attire has become quite elegant. He has long hair that is as dense as a lion's mane, and 2 ordinary knives hanging from his waist, yet he appears majestic. Shiji has a very high talent in swordsmanship and is definitely one of the geniuses. The Kendo Hall where he is located does not have any teachers who are good at the second sword technique, and the teachers he worships are also ordinary swordsmen. However, even without the guidance of famous teachers, Shiji still relies on his understanding of swordsmanship to build a solid foundation. And he also created his own swordsmanship using the 2-blade flow technique. Over the years, with the practice of his brother Kazan, Shiji's swordsmanship has made rapid progress. And Shiji is also focused on developing the floating fruit and is now able to manipulate some large objects. Can easily pull up a big tree and make a sailboat spin. However, the situation on Kazan's side is a bit different. His fruit development progress is not as good as Shiji's, and his physique is not as strong as Shiji's. He is also 10 centimeters shorter in height. But because he added his experience value to the swordsmanship entry, Kazan's swordsmanship was a bit more brilliant than Shiki's. Additionally, Kazan felt that a 1-blade stream was more violent, so he didn't plan on using a 2-blade stream. Drifting fruits may be due to the system, without fear of the side effects of seawater. As for Hai Lu Shi, he has not encountered it so far, so he is unaware. Jiehahaha. Shiji returned home naturally happy and smiled, saying, "Brother, I told the dojo teacher not to practice swordsmanship anymore. When will we set off? I can't wait to take over the Navy of Newcastle. The Superman series is not invincible. With so many members in the Navy branch, firearms can also pose a threat to us." Kazan thought for a moment and said, "Be careful and make plans on the way. Pack up and set off." Without a doubt, the Navy is the world's largest violent organization. They have established branches around the world, and their configuration specifications are much higher than those of pirates and civilians. But the Navy of Newcastle only protects the wealthy who contribute money. Kazan harbors this point, which is also the reason why he is determined to teach the Navy a lesson. In fact, there are many wealthy merchants living in the town of Newcastle, who provide a large amount of money to the Navy's 123rd branch every year. The vendors and even residents in the town regularly pay protection fees to the mafia. But ultimately, the mafia and the Navy ended up with most of their money going into the Navy's pockets. Because of this, the small town gradually gained a residence permit. Poor people have no right to live in small towns. Kazan and Shiki's family was originally in the small town, with ancestors and parents who were both indigenous residents. However, when the 2 brothers were 5 years old, their parents encountered a storm while going out to sea, and the couple was tragically engulfed by the sea. The sudden blow directly shattered the family. Not long after, the Kazan brothers lost their income and found it difficult to maintain the cost of obtaining a residence permit after selling all their furniture. After being confiscated by the local authorities, they were driven out of the town and forced to wander in the wilderness. And the suburbs have long become lawless places, with pirates everywhere and corpses piled up in the dense forest. It can be imagined. 2 children, in those years, had to endure many hardships in order to survive and hide. At noon, the 2 brothers took a boat to the port where the 123 branch of the Navy in Newcastle was located. Walking on the street, Kazan looked at everything around him. 3 warships are docked at the port, and the naval branch is located 100 meters away. The Navy has surrounded the most bustling area of this town and built tall office buildings. Inside the taverns on both sides of the street, there are pirates everywhere. Some are even toasting with Navy soldiers. It seems that the entire city has tacitly agreed to the existence of pirates. Just because people who can live in the town can afford protection fees. So, by the side of pirates, they are also very safe. A bunch of moths. Kazan said, "Shiki, let's keep the best warship for our own use." Shiji nodded and said, "I'm going to put a floating mark on it now." After spending several years together, Shiji knew that his brother's temperament had changed. Underneath his refined appearance, he had an extremely cold and meticulous heart. Kazan did everything slowly and systematically, as if he knew he would inevitably achieve the desired result. The powerful craftsmanship and scheming greatly impressed Shiji. 1 minute later, Kazan sensed 3 floating marks. So, enjoy the exciting program. P.S. Has anyone read the book, Golden Lion, Sword Hero? The little author rolls around and seeks some data, even a flower is good. There is data and 10 updates immediately. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 005, I don't allow you to point a gun at my younger brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 005, I don't allow you to point a gun at my younger brother. Boom. At this moment, Kazan stands in the middle of the street, with various crowds on both sides. He suddenly lifted his hand slightly. Continuing. 2 warships not far away were suddenly pulled up and began to float continuously towards the air. 5 meters. 10 meters. 50 meters. The splashing seawater dripped down from both sides of the warship, creating layers of waves on the surface of the sea. The Navy, unsure of what to do, stood on the deck in panic, unsure of what to do. Some chose to jump into the sea to escape. The human body falls into the sea from a high altitude, like falling hail. Taverns, shops. People rushed out in panic, constantly looking up. What's wrong with the warships? They actually flew up. How terrifying. What kind of power is this? This is. Run quickly. It feels like the warship is on the verge of falling. The huge shadow of the warship slowly moved, like the skulls of giants, covering the entire street. People are hugging their heads and dodging. Nowadays, both Kazan and Shiki can control the movement of floating objects. But such actions require a lot of physical exertion. Fortunately, the branch is located near the port and can be moved to a specific location without much effort. When 2 warships arrived over the naval branch, all the navies were filled with fear as they fled from their branches like mice to the streets, breathing heavily in the crowd. What the hell, what happened? Bang bang. Some irritable navies, carrying a strong smell of alcohol, picked up their firearms and fired indiscriminately at the warships. But with all the bullets fired, the warships still couldn't stop moving forward. At this moment, Kazan saw that the position was almost there, and his wrist flipped instantly. Shoo! 2 warships lost their buoyancy, and gravity forced them to spin and fall. The sails, painted with navy symbols, were torn apart by the wind, causing hunting to make a sound and ropes to break. The navy flag fluttered and slid down. The scene is like the end of the world, causing everyone below to crawl and escape. Boom boom. Boom boom boom. A huge warship crashed into the main building of the naval branch, sinking deep into it. The gunpowder on board exploded violently, causing the building stones to fly randomly and smoke and dust to roll over the entire street, killing many sailors. Done. The branch has been bombed. Who did it? There are no pirate ships on the sea. Impossible. There won't be any pirates in the nearby waters who dare to attack the navy. The last warship, don't have any more accidents. Before everyone could react, the third warship suddenly floated up. Just. The lifting speed of this warship is very slow. And pause at a position about 10 meters above the sea surface. The outcome of the first two warships was right in front of us, and the navy on board immediately jumped towards the sea as soon as they saw any unusual movements. Who would want to be smashed to pieces if they can jump into the sea? This is exactly the result that Kazan wants. Remove all the navy from the warships. At this point, a young man boarded the bow of the boat, his golden hair fluttering in the wind, and he held a pair of knives in his hand, towering down. Shiji is looking for the figure of Kazan on the street. Over there. It should be around now. On the streets of the port, the navy was in chaos. Kazan stood calmly in the middle of the navy. Continuing. A roar came from behind him. Bastard, who the hell is this stinky little kid with blonde hair? Still a demon fruit capable person. The speaker was Colonel Siglam from the 123 branch of the Navy. The rank of colonel is the highest official in the world. Since Slim was transferred to this 123 branch, the entire town has started trading with pirates, and the atmosphere has greatly changed. Former Kazan has seen him kill civilians on the streets more than once. At this moment, a naval soldier came up to him and nervously reported, "Colonel Slim, what should we do if the warship flies? Damn it, this bastard little ghost can fly, it's impossible to shoot it down." Most navies in the West Sea do not possess flight capabilities similar to lunar steps. For pirates who can fly, there is no other way besides using guns and cannons. He's just a stinky little devil, just using the devil's fruit to bluff, he doesn't dare to come down at all. Siglam tilted his mouth and held his cigar, smashing the bottle in his hand. He snatched the rifle from the Navy soldier's hand and pointed it at Skee in the sky, shouting angrily, "You guys get the cannon out of me. I'll let him taste the bullet first." Yes. After giving the order, Slim aimed his gun at Skee. Just at this moment, Kazan, hidden in the crowd, suddenly took action. Arrived behind Slim like a ghost. The next moment, Kazan stabbed Slim in the opposite direction. "Colonel, I've been here all along, be careful behind me." Upon hearing a somewhat childish voice in his ear, Slim's eyelids trembled as he looked down at the crimson tip of his knife, slowly emerging from his heart. The cigar, gun, and arm all weakly drooped down in that moment. You. What am I? I just don't allow you to point a gun at my brother." Kazan pulled out his knife and kicked over Slim. Then wiped the knife clean on the word, "Justice," behind it. At this moment, the Navy was completely panicked. They all drew out their swords to fight against the sudden appearance of the blonde little ghost. But what? Kazan's swordsmanship level is already very high, and with the help of Skee flying down. The two brothers worked together and in just a few greetings, they killed more than 20 prominent naval officers. The spilled blood stained the entire harbor square, and blood flowed through the cracks, exuding a bloody smell. Until all the navies dared not step forward, the two brothers were willing to stop. Seeing that the matter has been settled, the two brothers flew towards the sky without looking back, and the warship swept across the sky, leaving a dark shadow for the people on the ground. Staying here is no longer meaningful. The sea is vast, and neither pirates nor navy can be killed. It's not necessary, and we can't do it all. Seeing the two brothers leave, all the Navine residents collapsed in place, hugging their heads and screaming. Looking at the two golden figures, a resident trembled and said, "It's them. They're demons. They are the two golden-haired little ghosts from the Yura family. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 006, Bounty, O'Hara, famous in the sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 006, Bounty, O'Hara, famous in the sea naval headquarters, Marinfando. The geographical location of Marinfando is extremely unique. It is not only located below the city of Maracoya, where the world government is located, but also above the underwater passage to the second half of the Great Route to the island of Fishmen. These two important attributes make Marinfando a strategic location to guard two transportation arteries. Of course, when it comes to actual distance, Shampoo Island is closer and has a higher strategic position. But as a subordinate force of Maria, the Navy naturally serves the aristocratic Tianlong people. Where is Shampoo Island? It is the island with the best scenery in the world, and at the same time, it is backed by the red soil continent, with no severe weather such as typhoons all year round. The Tianlong people have long regarded Shampoo Island as their backyard and an auction house for squandering money. The Navy is not qualified to establish a huge fortress on the territory of the Tianlong people. No matter how good the strategic position is. So, the Navy developed a deserted island full of stones a long time ago, which is Marinfando. Also make this the headquarters of the Navy. Every naval chief is stationed at the headquarters. Trembling all directions, suppressing the entire Great Route. However, it is worth mentioning. Pirates exist year after year, but there are really not many heroes like the later Ocean Lord Locks and the later Pirate King Roger who can open up a big era. At this time period. Although pirates are rampant, a few with bounties of over 100 million also occasionally pop out, all fighting on their own and unable to make a difference. Rocks, this ambitious pirate vanguard, has not yet emerged. Pirates, in the final analysis, are just small groups of small forces entrenched by various parties. Therefore, in today's Navy, compared to the era of great navigation initiated by Roger, the military discipline is relatively loose, the combat personnel have not reached their peak, and the generals are also showing a youthful attitude. Of course, the position of Marshal of the Navy is currently only a concept within the Navy. As for Zifa, warring states, Kapu the old group of backbone members who can be named, now they don't know which corner of the ocean they are developing in. It is estimated that it will take a few years for it to emerge. At the same time, the highest rank in the Navy headquarters is General of the Navy. Currently, there is only one person. That is, Steelbone Empty. At this time, in the office of a naval general. The beardless steel skeleton was empty, holding a telegram from the West Sea in his hand. His eyebrows twisted into a river, deep enough to trap the long-footed mosquito. Seeing all the generals in the headquarters gathered, Steelbones knocked on the table with anger in his tone. The West Sea sent a telegram saying that the 123rd branch of our town of Newcastle in the West Sea was destroyed by two pirates, and the branch buildings were completely destroyed. Colonel Slim and 24 naval elites were cut down in the street. The entire accident resulted in 59 naval deaths and 37 injuries. Colonel is the highest-ranking officer of the Navy in the four seas, serving as the highest commander. Such a general being killed by pirates on the street is undoubtedly a fierce blow to the face of the Navy. The sound of steel hollow words fell. The surrounding naval generals took a cold breath and their expressions were extremely exciting. This is a heinous incident. It's provoking our navy. What kind of pirates dare to provoke our navy in the West Sea? Damn it. This kind of thing is chilling. I've never heard of it before. That's a colonel, and he was executed on the street. Are the pirates in the West Sea so rampant? Steelbones coldly said, the perpetrators are two children. Two stinky little ghosts only 13 years old. Hiss. What? Upon hearing this, the general around him widened his eyes and completely lost his voice. A 13-year-old child. Are you sure it's not intelligence error? How could it be? One named Kazan and the other named Shiji. Both of them are devil fruit abilities, who seem to be able to control warships to hit branches, and both can fly, which is definitely a headache-inducing ability. Steelbone empty threw a stack of materials on the table, filled with the childhood experiences of Kazan and Shiji. Nearby residents have confirmed that these two brothers are Newcastles and there is no intelligence issue. Perhaps it is not uncommon for two 13-year-old children to eat devil's fruit. But their logic of action is really ridiculous. When it comes to petty theft or even murder, even if the other party is a 3-year-old child, Steelbone Kong can understand. After all, the sea is inherently chaotic, and murder incidents are not uncommon. Many evil thieves start from children. But in an instant, he destroyed a naval branch and publicly killed the most naval colonel in the West Sea, almost wiped out all the living forces of a branch, done by two 13-year-old children. It's unbelievable to think about such a thing. If it were anyone, they would doubt if they had really heard it wrong. Those notorious pirates dare not do this. General Kong, let's issue a wanted notice. These little devils are naturally evil and cannot be kept. Yes. This kind of devil's son must be strangled in the cradle. The generals in the office give their opinions one by one. The fact lies before us, and Steelbone Kong also has this meaning. However, considering what the two little ghosts are doing is too crazy, and the strange demon fruit ability, Steelbone Kong is also feeling a headache. How much should the initial reward be set for these two little ghosts? In the New World, a huge warship floats on the sea surface. This ship was originally under the command of Rear Admiral Gasco of the Navy headquarters. At this moment, he is being taken over by a mysterious man. A burly man with a jet-black explosive head and a quaint famous knife stood on the deck. On the deck behind him, there were corpses with separated heads, and the blood had dried up. He looked at the bounty in his hand and the corners of his mouth crazily cracked, emitting strange laughter. Jihahaha. Interesting. Is it in the West Sea? The Navy's face has been ruined, and the entire sea is shaking because of it. It's getting more and more interesting. Two 13-year-old kids can do such earth-shattering things. The future sea is really exciting, ha ha ha. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. West Sea, at an altitude of several hundred meters. A warship is sailing steadily. The elements of waves, currents, and wind have always been praised by the pirate world. Because they are the main source of power for the ocean and the key elements that carry the wonderful chapters of the ocean. As long as you set sail and ride the waves, ships can sail. No matter on the sea surface. Or in the air. Over the years, Kazan has also learned a lot about navigation through extensive reading. So, it is very simple to use the power of the wind to make a floating warship sail. Shiji sat on the empty deck, looking at his wanted notice with some confusion. Photos. Wanted dead. Or alive Shiki BJ 200000000. 20 million berry, Maine, Navy release. Handsome photo. Wanted dead. Or alive Kazan BJ 400000000. 40 million berry, Maine, Navy release. What kind of bad photography? This bird's skill is not good, and it still needs to be published. Do you want to be shameless? Shiji cursed and looked dissatisfied with the photo on his bounty. Then he looked at Kazan standing at the bow of the ship and said, "Brother, what you said before was right. We are wanted by the Navy." The two brothers had already anticipated the outcome of such a thing. Kazan said, How much reward do we have? I'm 20 million berry, is my brain so valuable? However, brother, your brain seems to be even more expensive, it's already 40 million berry. When the bounty really came, Shiji still couldn't believe it. Perhaps it was because I killed the colonel, and we are also demon fruit powerhouses. In the era when prices had not yet risen, the initial reward reached millions, which was already a high bounty. Brother, is there still a place for us to stay in this world? Shiji, we don't have to worry about what's going on. Look at this warship, it has plenty of supplies and all the necessary equipment, which is enough for us to survive for a long time. Besides, as long as we have enough strength, the entire sea will be our backyard in the future. Only others are afraid of us, and we can't just go wherever we want. What we want is not a place to stay, but a grand plan to dominate. Kazan's words were also strongly supported by Shiji. Brother, I have taken note of it. Although it is. Both of them are not very strong now. But since Kazan asked Shiki to learn swordsmanship, Shiki seemed to have found the backbone and found the direction to become stronger. He became ambitious from a moment when he was worried that the wandering little ghost would die tomorrow. At the same time, Shiji also knew deeply. As long as the fist is hard and the blade is sharp, there is really nothing that cannot be accomplished or dared not be done. A broken bounty, what a big deal. This is not. A naval branch can be easily taken down by one's own brothers. Change to a path that was never imagined before. But using a warship to smash a naval branch, looking back now, Skee felt a sense of relief. It's so great. Shiji now dares to pat his chest and guarantee that the warship he snatched is the most luxurious place he has ever lived in. There are not only spacious and bright rooms in the cabin, but also countless rooms to live in. He has never seen any kitchen utensils in the kitchen. It can even make people fall in love with cooking. And those Navy reserves, each one is delicious and fascinating. Brother, where are we going now? Shiji withdrew his inner excitement and asked. He knew that Kazan was definitely not a hasty person, and perhaps his brother had already made comprehensive plans before he even set off. And it will definitely be a seamless and great plan. As Kazan watched as Shiki gradually debuted, he smiled and said, O'Hara. P.S. Add more to 10 fresh flowers. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 007, brother swears never to land on the island. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 007, brother swears never to land on the island O'Hara. What the hell is that place? Skee asked curiously. That's why I want you to read more. Kazan roast. O'Hara is a famous archaeological holy land in the West Sea and a paradise for scholars. Among them, O'Hara also has the world's largest library of books. The Tree of All Knowledge. For Kazans who need to read and upgrade. The status of Oha is definitely at the level of a holy land. So, during the years when Skee was studying swordsmanship, Kazan had already begun to understand everything about O'Hara. Including location, route, ocean currents, wind direction. At the moment when the warship Yangfan set sail, the destination was set as O'Hara. Kazan's was completely careless about her identity as a pirate. Although the bounty has come down, will scholars pay attention to the news of the wanted notice? Of course not. Besides, my trip to O'Hara was not to cause destruction. Considering that the two brothers are only 13 years old, even if they have the strength and are weak, even if they do crazy things at a young age, it cannot be convincing. In addition, the various influential figures on the sea are scattered everywhere, and it is still early to leave the era. It's difficult for two little brats to recruit crew members. Looking at it this way, Ace, the reason why Luffy didn't go out to sea until he was 17 is also the reason. So, staying in O'Hara for a period of time becomes what Kazan wants to do. Unconsciously, the warship roared past like the wind. The two brothers are getting closer and closer to their destination. At this point, in Kazan's mind, the system's active prompt sound finally rang out again. Ding! Detected that the host is about to pass through the archaeological Holy Land, O'Hara, experience value plus 50,000. Luck plus 20. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Seeing, hearing, and looking domineering. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Armed colorful dominance. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Drifting fruit. Hiss. The sound of the system fell, and Kazan's spirit was uplifted. 3 entries. How could the system provide so many entries? Don't waste the reading value you have accumulated before. Moreover, the new entries given this time were just right. Kazan is clear in his heart. He has a system and can become stronger in a stable environment. But my younger brother Shiji doesn't know. This trip to O'Hara is a treasure trove of upgrades for myself. But for G, sure can only be considered as finding a safe place to temporarily settle down. Far from improving as quickly as fighting against various pirates on the sea. But awakening new entries, the situation is already different. With the entry of seeing, hearing, and armed color domineering, Kazan is equivalent to learning dual color domineering. He can definitely share some experience with Shiji, allowing him to also have early exposure to advanced combat skills on the sea and sow the seeds of the strong. Immediately, Kazanka opened the panel and silently read to himself, System. I need to add some points. Add all the remaining experience points evenly to the newly obtained 3 entries. Ding. Done adding points. Host. Kazan swordsmanship. LV 50.410/60,000 seen and heard colorful dominance. LV 18.22/250000 armed color dominance. LV 18.22/250000 Superman series, drifting fruit. LV 15.85/180000 fortune. 43 experience value. 0. The entire world of pirates can be classified as follows. Body art, swordsmanship, domineering, demon fruit. The skills of these 4 major battles are very important. Kazan decided to prioritize stacking swordsmanship, domineering, and demon fruits on average. As for physical therapy, leaving aside the fact that the current genre entry has not yet appeared. Even if it appears, Kazan has a swordsmanship foundation and is not in a hurry to expend effort on physical skills. Because swordsmanship also includes some body techniques. Brother, there's an island ahead. It's the first time I've seen such a huge tree. This is too crazy. Shiji stood at the bow of the ship, looking down at everything below, his face full of amazement. A look of having never seen the world before. Is this O'Hara? Skee asked curiously. That's right. Kazan explained to Shiki about O'Hara's situation once. After the explanation is completed, the two have reached the sky above O'Hara. Control the warship to descend towards a corner of the sea. The O'Hara Island is not very large, and the shade of the tree of all knowledge occupies half of the island. The people on the island are all scholars, and the fireworks are relatively scarce. The village is very small. And dock the warship at the mouth of the cape. Not choosing the lake on the island. One reason is that Kazan did not want the residents of O'Hara to see strange things like the landing of warships, avoiding unnecessary trouble. The second is that the mouth of the cape can effectively conceal ships, keeping them away from island residents while also avoiding strong winds and allowing passing sailboats to detect a warship docked in O'Hara. Furthermore, this naval ship is a relatively high-end residential area, so it's better to keep it. After the warship comes to a steady stop, Kazan asked Skee to set the anchor and secure the ship. Just as Shiji was grinning and excited, swaying his samurai sword around his waist as he was preparing to land on the island, Kazan suddenly stopped him and said, "Shiji, you're so scary. The island is full of scholars, so why don't you land on the island?" Shiji pointed to his wanted notice and roared, "No, brother, do I look so scary? Don't doubt yourself, Shiki. Are you really my own brother?" Kazan threw his sword directly to Shiki and said, "This reef is very flat, so you can practice swordsmanship well. Remember not to make too much noise, wait for me to familiarize myself with the cultural environment on the island first, and then consider not allowing you to land." Shiji perfunctorily said, Yes, I'll just stay here." Kazan, "I'll teach you some advanced combat skills later." Shiji, "Brother, I swear never to land on the island." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 008, Holy Land, constantly surprising. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 008, constant surprises. Kazan stepped onto the island and could see the tree of all knowledge at a glance. Along the way, there is no need to ask local residents for directions. However, scholars couldn't help but look curiously at strangers who suddenly landed on the island. Fortunately, although Kazan's golden long hair is quite eye-catching, his handsome face is completely a scholarly and refined demeanor. The four big characters, good people in the world, seem to be stuck on his forehead, making people feel good at first sight. Therefore, he didn't encounter any trouble along the way. Even some female scholars also nod and greet Kazan. Just as Kazan arrived at the bottom of the tree of all knowledge and marveled at the immense grandeur of the trees before him, a person with a strange hairstyle came to Kazan and asked, "Are you an outsider?" "I am a scholar from the island, Sanyakeo. May I ask, what did you do when you came to our O'Hara?" Clover. Upon hearing this name, Kazan surprisingly became somewhat familiar. Search for past life memories. He guessed that the other party was the future Dr. Clover. He is also the director of the Library of the Future Tree of Omniscience. In the year 1494 of the Gregorian calendar, Clover studied the information of the ancient giant kingdom. The idea of the giant kingdom impressed him, and in order to leave his thoughts for the future, he sent a historical text research team to ask Nicole or Bia to leave O'Hara to explore. 6 years later, 1,500 years later, the main text of O'Hara's research on history was discovered by Maria. Subsequently, O'Hara Island suffered a devastating blow from the Order of the Slayer, causing the Tree of All Knowledge to collapse and the deaths of all scholars. Only 8-year-old Nicole Robin survived the entire O'Hara. Regarding O'Hara's tragic experience, Kazan couldn't help but lament. Maria ruled the world for 800 years, but surprisingly had no effect. The entire sea became even more chaotic due to the existence of Maria, a superpower, and her thoughts were indeed backward. At this moment, Kazan looked at the image of the person in front of him. He was about 25.6 years old, with a head of light green hair that stretched out like 2 elephant ears at the back of his head. The hair on his head had been shaved off and was an inch long, but there was a tuft of green hair on the back of his head that rose up like a fruit, paired with a round mustache. "It's a clover, that's right." Kazan said, "My name is Kazan, and I am a scholar who came to the Tree of All Knowledge to seek knowledge." Sanyi Chao said, "Our island welcomes scholars, but we do not welcome unfamiliar scholars. Although I know your name is Kazan and you also know my name is Sanyi Chao, please go back." Despite Kazan's good student face, he still faced suspicion from Clover. The Tree of All Knowledge is the most valued existence of O'Hara, the Holy Land within the Holy Land. The purpose of hearing Kazan is to come to the Tree of All Knowledge. The clover has grown a few heart-shaped eyes. Sanyi Chow, I don't think this scholar looks like a bad person either. What are you, a librarian, interfering with? His fate should be decided by the director of the Olympic Academy. The female scholar next to her reminded. Upon hearing this, Sanyi Chow knew that he was favoring Kazan and said discontentedly, knowledge cannot tolerate any carelessness. Kazan didn't expect to be blocked before he even entered the Tree of All Knowledge. Thinking of the lines of poetry I have read in my past life, I instinctively read them. The road is long and winding, and I will search up and down. Since I have come to O'Hara, I will not give up easily. Kazan's words fell. Surrounding scholars, such as Sanyi Chow, were stunned, while walking scholars also stopped in place. The expression was intoxicated, as if savoring what Kazan had said. Is the road long and winding? Will I search up and down? Surprisingly, there is a desire that arouses exploration. The clover pondered and even fell into it, experiencing the meaning of every word Kazan said. When he regained his senses, he said, Ahem, after today, we will be friends. The clover represents O'Hara and welcomes you, Kazan scholar. How can the infectious power of knowledge be so strong? From China. Li Saw. Can it still reduce the dimensionality and strike scholars in O'Hara? Can you now recommend the curator of the Tree of All Knowledge? Finally. Kazan was recognized by local scholars in O'Hara for his melancholic verse. He also followed the current library director, Dr. Aoshue, as he wished. And obtained the qualification to enter the world's largest library, the Tree of All Knowledge. And when entering the Tree of Omniscience, Kazan was completely stunned. Yes. Stunned. The air in the library is filled with the fragrance of ink and paper, and the thick atmosphere of history fills the air. Because the library is too large, the construction is based on the natural hollowing out of the tree body of the omniscient tree. The overall shape is circular, with a huge and empty tree hole in the center and a dense upward placement of massive books around it. The entire building is several tens of meters high, with several floors. Some floors are natural staircases carved from trees, while others have books stored on tree walls. A ladder of more than 10 meters needs to be built to reach the books in the tree hole. The collection of books in the Tree of All Knowledge, not to mention the colorful covers, is also divided into many types of texts, and the quantity is countless. A large book, exaggerated to 4 or 5 meters in length and width, with each letter as big as a person's head. A small book, only the size of a fingernail, may not even be readable with a magnifying glass. Books from the land of giants, books from the land of Lilliputians. Being able to stay in such a place is no different from enjoying the awakening experience system. The systems are all groaning. And, after a brief observation of the Tree of Omniscience, Kazan was also allowed to work as a librarian here. This job. Just help organize the neatly arranged books every day. I need to sweep the dust off the already clean books once a month. Of course, this job is voluntary labor and free of charge. Talking to scholars about money is very vulgar. However, in the following months, Kazan was also awarded a scholar certificate by Dr. Aoshue due to his good character, eloquence, and rich experience, and even awarded him a scholar hat. It's like the bachelor's hat I rented when I graduated from college. At the same time, Kazan also obtained the qualification to read all books on the Tree of All Knowledge. Of course. Kazan has also seen ancient texts like historical texts, but he cannot read or learn them. This led him to speculate that understanding ancient texts was a unique bloodline ability of scholars like the Oha or the Three Eyes, and outsiders did not have this gene. However, at this time slot, even though some ancient written works are displayed there, scholars have not deliberately studied them. Kazan naturally doesn't know either. He just felt that the carriage of the times had not yet reached the designated position. Therefore, Kazan did not waste time on ancient writing and focused on wandering in the ocean of knowledge. It is worth mentioning. Every book in Ohara is fresh and a huge treasure, and every time Kazan reads it, he can gain a huge amount of experience value. Read thousands of books and travel thousands of miles. The divine level experience system is right in saying that knowledge is the best weapon for the brain. Ding. Host reading Homer's epic, experience value plus 120000. Host reading A Brief History of the Fish Man, experience value plus 155000. Host reading Poetry of the Sea, experience value plus 360000. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Portable space, 100 cubic meters. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Physical fitness. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Dominant and domineering. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Seeing, hearing, and coloring characteristics branch. Anticipating the future. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Armed color characteristic branch. Flowing sakura. P.S. Flowing sakura is a term used to refer to the domineering country of harmony, but in fact, both flowing sakura and armed colors are the same thing. Just like the demon fruit ability, the outside world calls the ability person, and the country of harmony calls the sorcerer. Flowing cherry and domineering are just different names. In addition, there are indeed different stages of armed colors. Simply put, beginners cover their bodies and weapons with armed colors to increase their defense and attack power. Furthermore, it allows for the flow of domineering energy, entwining around the weapon's fist, achieving aerial attacks with stronger power. Further, it is to release the domineering energy, penetrate into the interior of the object, carry out destruction, and explode its power. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 009, one person reading, one person busy with farming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 009, one person reading, one person busy with farming. Year after year, time flows by. In the blink of an eye, 5 years have passed. The Zanka brothers are already 18 years old and a 2-meter-tall teenager. This day, Kazan's ethereal figure shuttles through the interior of the Tree of All Knowledge library. He swept the dust off all the books. Then go meet Dr. Aoshue, the director of the library. Seeing someone coming, Dr. Aoshue, who was reading, put down his book, took off his thick glasses and asked, "Kazan, are you sure you want to leave?" "Yes, Dr. Aoshue. This is the list of books you need for your travels. We, Ohara, receive books gifted by scholars from around the world. Each book has a note indicating its source. As long as you find the marked location, you can purchase rare books that you haven't read." Dr. Aoshue put in a lot of effort before presenting a thick customized book to Kazan. Scholars are a very rigorous group of people who have an unparalleled love for books. When Ohara's own scholars find books or external scholars give books as gifts, they will compile a complete collection of the origin, collection process, and stories behind the books. By doing so, if the book is lost, it can still be obtained again from somewhere. Belongs to a part of knowledge inheritance. And some of Ohara's books are out of print and isolated. These books have been the focus of Kazan's strategy in recent years. As for other mass-produced books that can be purchased around the world, he plans to wait until he travels the ocean before slowly purchasing and reading. But even so, Ohara still has some out-of-print books that Kazan has not read. Time waits for no one, it's time to venture into the sea. On this side, Dr. Aoshue knew about Kazan's thirst for knowledge, so he prepared this farewell gift. Some of the books were repetitive, and Dr. Aoshue also gave this part directly to Kazan. Thank you. Kazan thanked him. What a good child. Dr. Aoshue said with satisfaction. Just bid farewell to Dr. Aoshue, and Kazan came to the shade of the tree of all knowledge. At this point, Sanyi Chao approached with a silver-haired girl and said, Kazan, have you decided to leave yet? Thank you for taking care of me over the past few years, Kazan smiled. Is brother Kazan really going to leave? Is it better not to leave? A silver-haired girl hugged Kazan's thigh, tears swirling in her eyes, pitiful and lovable. Nicole Orbia. She is a local resident of O'Hara and has just turned 3 years old. At this age, she is somewhat mature compared to other children, with a calm and composed personality. Cold towards people around, but very enthusiastic towards Kazan. Perhaps it's because Kazan is quite sunny. In the past few years on the island, she has often been entangled by Orbia to tell stories. Several times, she has been hiding in Kazan's blonde hair, secretly sleeping in. Slowly, the two of them became happy playmates. Orbia rubbed the silver ball head. Kazan smiled and said, when Orbia grows up, perhaps she also needs to go to the world to find new knowledge. Is that right? Of course. Brother Kazan, will we see each other again? Of course. Kazan and Orbia, you say one word, I say one word, hang the clover aside. That. Sanyi Chao hesitated to speak. Sanyi Chao nervously pulled Kazan aside and said, we all know you came to O'Hara on a warship, so there's one question I've been wanting to ask you. What is your real identity? Navy. There have always been doubts about Kazan's purpose for coming here. However, Kazan's behavior on the island was too kind, and the clover never spoke well. It's impossible to say. Your motive for going to the island is impure. See the situation. Kazan whispered, well, I'm actually a pirate, and the warship was also taken. What? Pirates. Pirates who rob warships. Sanyi Chao was so surprised that he quickly covered his mouth, afraid of screaming out the words, pirate. The residents of O'Hara are relatively simple, but that doesn't mean they don't have a heart. The clover is the one with the most heart. A few years ago, at the moment Kazan arrived on the island, he became the subject of observation for the clover. Just. The more Clover observes, the more she thinks that Kazan is a very nice friend. At this moment, upon hearing Kazan reveal his identity, Sanyi Chao's eyes were naturally filled with disbelief. Scholars are indeed pure and insightful, but they are not many. Kazan smiled and said, what's the point with pirates? We're also friends, right? Identity is more of an outsider's opinion. It's up to you to decide who you really want to be. The clover stands still in place. However, he also believed Kazan's explanation. After all, even if the other party is a pirate, they are also knowledgeable pirates. With knowledge leading the way, he shouldn't be considered a bad person, right? Sanyi Chao waved his hand and said, forget it, hurry up and leave O'Hara. Remember, never bring trouble to O'Hara. Kazan is a bit awkward. Will I cause trouble for O'Hara? Uncle Clover, how could you rush people like that? It's not polite at all, said Orbia with a puff of anger. 3-leaf grass's hair was exploding with anger. No way. What do you know as a child? Hee hee. Dada. The sudden sound of footsteps interrupted the conversation between the few people. Kazan and others turned their heads to look. I saw a rough-looking man with blonde hair and a height of 2.2 meters, named Shiji, walking briskly. At the same time, Shiji held a hemp rope in his hand, which went up and connected one bamboo basket after another. There were about 10 bamboo baskets floating about 1 meter above the ground, and each basket was filled with potatoes covered in soil, corn wrapped in green, and other agricultural crops. In the last basket, there were 2 one-year-old baby children dressed in children's clothing. The baby children danced and grabbed the bamboo basket with both hands, stretched out their heads, and kept shouting with pacifiers. Drive, drive. Drive. The whole scene is like a golden lion doll, holding a bunch of hydrogen balloons for sale. Shiji turned around and shouted angrily, "Shut up. Little devil. It's so noisy." The two children were in tears, but their cries became even more joyful. Fierce. Drive. This scene made Kazan couldn't help but burst into laughter. Who could have thought of it? The notorious flying heavenly commander in later generations even had the side of playing with children. The ability to float can make all things float, but it was actually creatively used by him to do agricultural work. Perhaps it was because Shiji had been practicing swordsmanship on rocks with only the sound of waves all year round, without encountering more people. As a result, his practice became dull and he couldn't help but feel cautious. He watched Kazan and the island residents get along, so he took the initiative to go to the island to find fun. Shiji doesn't have the same kind of conversation as Kazan, he seems to know nothing except swordsmanship. With a sudden inspiration, he thought of leaving a pile of neatly chopped wood in the forest behind after practicing swordsmanship. He then used floating fruits to transport firewood and gave it to the island residents, receiving applause. Now, it's the season for the Ohara harvest. The things that Shiji transported changed from firewood to crops such as potatoes and corn. It has to be said that the floating fruits greatly improved the efficiency of farming for the residents on the island, making the two brothers more popular. After the supplies on the warship were depleted, the two often went to the residents' homes to eat. When Kazan mentioned this matter, Shiji explained nonchalantly. Doing farm work is also a form of cultivation. Didn't you see that my level of fruit control has reached the millimeter level? Kazan can only be speechless. The ant following behind said with a smile on her face, "Thank you, Shiki. I have already arrived home. What a big deal. I don't even know what you're touching." Shiji impatiently waved his hand and said, "Aunt Jenny, hurry home and cook. The pot is already cold. Look, there are potatoes, corn, and dozens of pounds of freshly slaughtered beef in this basket. It's too heavy. Come and help Auntie move it, Shiki," Aunt Jenny said. Upon hearing this, Shiji immediately flew over lightly. "What's the rush? You're still in a hurry when we're all home. Nah, this is what Auntie gave to your two brothers. Both of you are growing your bodies, remember to eat more." "Ah. This. How sorry about that." A few minutes later. Behind Shiji was holding a floating bamboo basket full of ingredients, scratching his head all the way. Quickly, a warship rose from the Cape of Ohara. Goal, Great Route. P.S. How unpopular. Seeking a flower. 1 ticket. Seeking some motivation for the young author to update. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 010, plan, permanent pointer, next station confirmed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 010, plan, permanent pointer, next station confirmed the South China Sea, the Azure Sea surface. A golden figure flew against the sea, at an extremely fast speed, and the shockwave made the sea give way to him. This person is Shiji, who has not been at sea for long. Perhaps in recent years, the knives have been sharpened too sharply, and in Ohara, he can only do farm work. His double knives have rusted and are useless, or perhaps it is because he went out to sea for the first time. Shiji was like a wild beast released from its cage, and at the moment when the two brothers set sail, their fangs were exposed recklessly. With the advantage of floating fruits at high altitudes. The two brothers are like eagles soaring in the sky, able to easily find prey on the sea surface. This is not. In just 1 month of going out to sea, Shiji had already buried more than 10 groups of pirates at the bottom of the sea. Slowly, some people have started calling Shiji the Golden Lion. The roaring Golden Lion on the sea. Of course, there may be more pirates who have been spared by Skee. In the words of my brother Kazan, it means expanding ambition requires strong tolerance to constrain, and this balance is called courage. So, as long as the pirate is polite and presents the treasure with a smiling face, you will receive forgiveness from the Kazan brothers. At this moment, Shiji stared at the sailing sailboat and decisively flew down from high altitude, preparing to start today's robbery routine. And on the other side, the Kazan on a high-altitude warship lacks the excitement of Shiki. He would choose to read in his leisure time, not to seize opportunities for Shiji's performance, and generally not participate in looting. It's actually laziness. Shiji's personality is rebellious and unrestrained, belonging to the wild faction. Kazan is relatively introverted, but he is definitely not good at dealing with things. When he is fierce, the degree is even far better than Shiji's. At this moment, Kazan is studying the panel after adding points. O'Hara's trip. The sense of harvest of Kazan exploded directly, and various new entries flew up. Combined with the massive collection of rare books from the Tree of All Knowledge, he crazily increases his experience value every day after reading. In disguise, his strength has achieved a qualitative leap. After reading books for several years, Kazan has initially entered the ranks of great swordsmen. Host. Kazan Swordsmanship. LV 75 Physical Fitness. LV 75 Seen and Heard Colorful Dominance. LV 53. Feature Branch 1. Foresight of the Future, 1's, Armed Color Dominance. LV 53. Feature Branch 1. Flowing Sakura, Overlord Color. LV 53 Drifting Fruit. LV 53 Fortune. 79 Portable Space. 100 cubic meters Experience Value. 0. Looking at the panel, Kazan nodded in satisfaction. Swordsmanship is the foundation of his combat skills, and physique is the source of explosive power and endurance. Therefore, whenever there is an opportunity, he will prioritize increasing his experience value on these two entries. As for his domineering and fruity abilities, he also adopted a point-to-point mode. Kazan believes that any weakness can evolve into a weakness, indirectly becoming a fatal injury. Therefore, priority should be given to enhancing physical fitness and swordsmanship, and the remaining entries should be added evenly to gradually cultivate oneself into a perfect hexagonal warrior. What a pity! As the level increases, the demand for experience value is increasing. Check the gameplay panel. Kazan flies outside the ship and observes the situation on the sea from a high position. No accidents. The golden figure, the size of sesame dots, has completed the robbery and is now flying upwards. With Kazan's guidance, Shiji had been exposed to domineering for a long time. Today, he can also proficiently use his aura and armed colors. As for domineering colors, there is no sign of awakening. But there's no rush either. Charlotte Lingling killed a giant warrior, awakened her Tyrannosaurus at the age of 5, and Duofei Langmingo was executed. At the age of 7, she awakened her Tyrannosaurus, and Charlotte Katakuri saw her sister being bullied. At the age of 10, she awakened her Tyrannosaurus, and Munch D. Luffy saw that Ace would be executed. At the age of 17, she awakened her Tyrannosaurus. Various examples prove the awakening of the dominant color requires an opportunity. Strength has nothing to do with the awakening time. Kazan has reason to believe that Shiji, as a legendary pirate from the old era, also possesses a domineering aura. It's just that the timing hasn't arrived yet. Watching Shiji gradually approach, Kazan immediately made the next plan. To set off for the Great Voyage. The geomagnetism, celestial phenomena, ocean currents, and air currents of the Great Route are all chaotic, making it difficult to even confirm one's position, let alone search for islands. Only the recording pointer, the permanent pointer, is trustworthy. Therefore, preparing materials and equipment and collecting intelligence are particularly important. Don't worry about supplies, you can buy them with money, and just throw them directly into your personal space after purchase. 100 cubic meters. Half a classroom is so big. As for intelligence, Kazan plans to go to Surima at the entrance of the overturned mountain to collect it. Surima is a bustling town with a position in the West Sea, similar to the town of Loge in the East China Sea, both of which are important supply stations on transportation routes. As for the direction of intelligence collection, there are 4 main points. First, news of Mingdao. If there is no famous sword to match, how can one be called a swordsman? Secondly, build a pirate ship. For Kazan, this is the simplest thing. He has already made a plan: first search for gold on the empty island, and then go to the water capital to build it. Third, devil fruit. Navigation is not a matter of 2 people, and it is impossible for the 2 brothers to do everything themselves. Recruiting crew members is necessary, but considering the different combat capabilities of each person, in order to increase the team's upper limit, the reserve of devil fruit is also a point that Kazan must pay attention to. Fourth, pure gold. Every traveler has actually died once, and Kazan naturally yearns for immortality and eternity. The world of pirates he knows about lifespan is the Superman surgical fruit, the phantom vampire fruit, and the remaining is pure gold. Whatever you encounter, go plan it. When the Kazan plan is completed. Shiji held several brand new samurai swords pinned to his waist and landed on the deck holding a wooden box. Throwing the box on the ground, a few worthless old objects popped out in pieces. He kept mumbling. Shiji seemed not satisfied with the robbery, and roast, "Brother, these people are poor, and they are too rigid to kill, but they have a good attitude. I'm not happy enough. However, the swords on these warriors from the land of harmony look quite good." Shiji pulled out a freshly snatched, best-looking knife from his waist. With a flick of his finger, the knife floated in front of Kazan. "Brother, take this for you." The knives used by the 2 brothers were so poor that they were all snatched from the hands of pirates and navy. The blades were rusty and were ubiquitous street vendors. Kazan impolitely put away the knife, but at this moment his attention was drawn to something inside the wooden box. Permanent pointer. Kazan had read works related to pointers in O'Hara, so he immediately recognized them as permanent pointers. "Shiji, did you just say they come from the Kingdom of Peace?" "Yes, my Tolstoy swordsmanship teacher's hometown is also the Kingdom of Heji, so when I was tidying them up, I asked a few more questions. The group of warriors said they came from a family called Liang Yu in the Kingdom of Heji, and it seems that they came to the West Sea to seek refuge with their relatives." "What's wrong?" Kazan couldn't help but laugh and said, "What is your teacher's name?" "Shiji." "Liang Yu, Qiangqigu, didn't you always know?" "Why?" Halfway through Shiji's words, he was stunned and said, "Wipe it. Good guy." This group of people came from the country of He to the West Sea to seek refuge with their relatives, and it is still the surname of Liang Yu. Lying trough. Unexpectedly, they snatched the body of their swordsmanship teacher's clan members. Shiji still had a conscience, and at this moment, he couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. He was grateful that he hadn't killed those warriors. Otherwise, when those members of the Liang Yu family suffered great injustice, he would go to Tolstoy town to complain to his teacher about being robbed by an 18-year-old blonde youth. How difficult it is for love. Fortunately, I didn't report my family background. Iconic golden hair. My dear brother is taking the blame, don't worry. If it weren't for Kazan often demanding that Skee constantly control his temper and refine his spirit. This time, Shiji really has a chance of annihilating the swordsmanship teacher's family. After all, those strange-looking and rigid warriors are really annoying. If you have nothing to do, it's okay. Kazan looked at the permanent pointer, which was engraved with the words country of harmony, coordinates, etc., and immediately decided, since we have the permanent pointer to the country of harmony, let's go to the country of harmony next. The land of harmony. Upon hearing this, Shiji's eyes lit up. P.S. I have already signed a contract and won't be a eunuch. Readers can read with great confidence. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.